The college basketball experience Big South 24-25 season preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit up to $1,000. That is a promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL today by getting over there to Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome everybody into the college basketball experience Big South edition. Oh boy, I love the Big South, man. This is a good basketball conference. Can't wait to talk about it. Short league here too. Only 9 teams, so we'll dive into each and every team, give each team their preview, make some
Not like we wouldn't have done that if it was a 16-team league.
True.
But
very true. We'll go team by team. We'll give out our 1 through 9. We'll give out our sleeper, our bust, our champion, regular season and postseason. But first off, we got to introduce ourselves because I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the college experience, and this guy loves himself some Big South hoops because he is also known as the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving Noah Bieniek, aka Noah B77. What's up, man? Let's talk some Big South.
What's going on, Mac? Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's talk some Big South basketball this year. Last year, I went chalk. I picked UNC Asheville. They actually lost this conference by a game to High Point, who I was super, super surprised by last year. Looking at the roster on paper in the preseason, it didn't knock my socks off, but man, did Alan Huss put together one of – I was really impressed by his coaching job last year. It took me by surprise after the Tubby Smith and his son's regime didn't really kill it, and then he came in, had the players that they had, and took them to another level. So super impressed by Huss. Can't wait to see what he does in year 2 with this. I mean, we're gonna get to it. Yeah, it's a pretty damn good mid-major basketball roster, Mac. So yeah, you were not on last year's preview for the Big South. Colby was on it with me. He had UNC Asheville as well. But there might be a little bit of a changing of the guard this season with some of the big dominoes over there in Asheville that are out the door. Mac, anything else that you want to add before we get into this year's teams?
Oh, yes. I forgot to do my quick scan here. Only had 2 coaches on from this league. I thought I had more for whatever reason. I was scheduled to have 3 or 4, but I only ended up with 2. Obviously, my guy Darius Nichols at Radford. He was the first one on the coaches tour. So all the way in the beginning, back in July, I think. And then we had the man that won the league last year, Alan Huss. So go check out that episode. Stay tuned. I think I'm going to be high on High Point. I think they're going to be pretty damn good. He did a great job, and yeah, man, I was feeling good about my Radford sleeper pick, and then injuries came, and they kind of fell apart in conference play. They had a good non-con, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I like these basketball programs. I went to Longwood last year. I was on that campus for the Radford Longwood game. I'll be at more Big South games this year. And I was going to go to media day, but it ended up getting wiped out by the hurricane. So that ended up changing plans. So let's go, man. Let's dive into a little Big South.
Speaking of media day, the media poll and some of the awards came out yesterday. So we will have at the end of the show something to work off of for this year's expectations, not last year's final standings on our sleepers and bust predictions here in the Big South. But we're going to start with none other than Charleston Southern, the first team here in alphabetical order in the Big South basketball conference, the Buccaneers. You notice how it takes up basically the entire bottom half of the screen on the YouTube layout for their name and Buccaneers. But awesome stuff. And let me tell you, Son Nimley stepped in late November as an interim for Barclay Radabaugh, and the team didn't give up. They didn't quit, and actually they played pretty well at home last season under Nimley, who was a really good player in the program, went dancing with the Bucks in 2013, 2015, and this team responded to him, and they actually returned 4 starters from last season. That's something that I forgot to mention. I was actually really pleasantly surprised how well the Big South had retention rates on a lot of these rosters. So, like I said, they returned 4 starters, 63% of their minutes. That's the second most in the Big South, but they have the third most experience on their roster, according to BartTorvik.com, heading into the year in this conference. So the only 2 starters that they do lose from last season, or the only starter, that they lose from last season, is Reginald Durhart, who wasn't much of a scorer, but definitely a presence down low. 6'9", had 6 rebounds per game, shot at 47% from the field. But outside of him, I mean, you lose Quentin Bolton Jr., who played 17 and a half minutes, averaged 7.5 points, 4 boards. Lewis Hutchinson, who played 19 minutes. Caleb Clinton, who played 17 and a half minutes, averaged 6.5 and 4. Trez Berry hit the portal. Gaddis Heath III hit the portal. Jaden Thompson played 14 and a half minutes, portaled. Amarion Savage hits the portal as well. Coming in from the transfer portal, Lamar Odin Jr. from Drexel. He's a 6'6" graduate senior, played 20 minutes for the Dragons last season, averaged 5 and 4. Also coming in from Charlotte, Dalen Berry, a 6'4" redshirt junior, who only played 8 minutes a season ago for the 49ers. Derek Harris Jr. Comes in from Georgia Southern after playing 11 and a half minutes, averaged 5.5 points per game, 32% from 3-point shooter. And then after redshirting last year at NC State, Jalen Gibson comes in as well. Graduate senior, only played 14 minutes for UNC Greensboro in 2022. So not much to really go off of there. The returning starters for this team are pretty solid. You have RJ Johnson, man in the point, 3 assists last season per game in 33 and a half minutes, averaged 15 points, 2 boards, 38% from 3. Alon Sumler, who played 30 minutes last season, averaged 14, 3 and 1.5 assists. Also shot at 32.5% from 3. DJ Patrick rounds out the backcourt, a 6'6" redshirt senior, played 31 minutes, averaged 10, 4, 1.5 assists, 32% 3-point shooter as well. In the front court, they returned Tajay Kelly. He's going to probably take a step up to the 5 instead of playing the 4 this season, but he's a 6'7" senior. 30 and a half minutes last season, 14 and a half points, 7.5 boards, 1.5 assists, shot at 47.5 from the field, and he can stretch out and shoot a 3. He shot just over 1 per game last season. He shot at 38.5%. Mac, your thoughts on the Bucks? They might take a step up this season, right?
Yeah, so that we saw that a little bit more than I can ever remember last year, where an interim coach stepped in, did a good job, and kept the job. So shout out to Son Nimley, who was able to, they were competitive, tied for 5th last year in the Big South. And they retain a lot, bring back 63% of their roster from last year that took a little bit of a step. And no, Rob Donaldson, it's Lamar Odin, O-D-E-N, not Odom. So he was asking when you were rambling through their roster. So it's not Lamar Odom or his son. So
I was just going through the chat, flicking it while I was looking at my screen.
I kind of like this team and the makeup of it headed into year 2 of the Simley era. He gets the Nimley era. I combined his first name and last name. He gets the contract. They can breathe a little bit. I think that they're kind of in the middle-ish of the Big South this year.
Yeah, they were kind of in a clump in the basement last year. 3 teams finished with 6 wins, 2 teams finished with 5. Meanwhile, High Point, UNC Asheville, and Gardner-Webb took up a lot of the wins: 13-3, 12-4, 11-5. Last season, Charleston Southern was 10-20 in overall, but like I said, they struggled early in the non-conference as Radford had struggled with health, and then the interim here came in Sa. So 6-10 in conference. They kind of got better as the season went along. I think this is close to a 500 team in Big South.
I agree. That's what I was going to say. I think they could contend to be like 500 in the league, and that'd be good for year 2 of the Nimley era. 100%. He played there too, by the way, so he's got a lot of pride.
I mentioned that at the top. Yeah, he went dancing twice with the Bucks as a player. We're going to take a short break because down in this area, we mentioned how media days were affected by the hurricanes that had came through, specifically in Western North Carolina. We've teamed up with mountainprojects.org, which is basically we're doing a fundraiser, and it's going to those that are in need, suffering from all the hurricane damage in places that normally aren't expecting hurricanes of this kind of magnitude to come in, and it really kind of just warped what used to look like everyday life in Western North Carolina and the mountains up there. So we've teamed up with mountainprojects.org. If you click the donate button, you will be able to help out, and just in the notes mention that you were referred by SGPN, and the highest donator will be able to join us, the Sports Gambling Podcast, on a college football picks episode coming up here. So should be a lot of fun if that happens. And we highly encourage you guys to help out those that are in need, as we are as well. Also, the SGPN, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, the NBA season tips off, and the NBA Gambling Podcast is hosting a win totals contest. The winner will get a $250 SGPN gift card. So you can head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA contest to enter today before the season starts. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA contest to enter. And also, as always, leave a like, rating, review, subscribe wherever you're listening to this, whether it be podcast platforms or here on YouTube. Subscribe, leave a like for us. It helps us out where algorithm is kind of, feeds us out there more to the masses. And only you guys can help us prevent corporate gambling from taking over. So just leave us a 5-star rating. We are greatly appreciative of it. Mac and I are going to jump back into the Big South basketball preview here with the Gardner-Webb Running Bulldogs.
The Dogs.
So Tim Kraft takes the West Carolina job after last season. Jeremy Luther is promoted from within here at Gardner-Webb. Last season, the Running Bulldogs finished 3rd in this conference, which were 11-5, 17-16 overall. They are kind of replacing the entire group. They lose all 5 starters from last season. They do bring in 2 transfers that are graduate seniors, and Anthony Selden from Rice. He started his career at Gardner-Webb alongside Jermaine Mann, who comes back in through the portal. He's also a graduate senior. He transfers in from Georgia State. So both of them, former Gardner-Webb Bulldogs, they return to play under Luther. Anthony Selden played 16.5 minutes last season for the Rice Owls. Jermaine Mann played 15.5 minutes for the Georgia State Panthers. And they are going to look for some other guys to step up into some roles through the program. Outside of those 2 guys, they did pick up a JUCO recruit in Farrell Bolgano, who put up 14 points per game, 9.5 boards, 2.5 assists at Caldwell Tech. But, Daryl Simmons II and Shahar Lazar are going to be expected to take a step up and play meaningful minutes in that backcourt this season. Simmons is a 5'11 sophomore point guard, shot at 36% from 3, 41% from the field when he got his opportunities, and Lazar 43.5% from the field, 31% from deep. The front court's the experienced part of this group, Mac. But the backcourt's really young, and I've got some questions. And it's a first-year head coach. I think this team takes a step back into the middle of the pack, maybe bottom half of the conference here, Mac.
So my question would be, what's your definition of the step back? Because under Kraft, they finish no less than 500 in league play every single year. They were top 5 team basically year in and year out. So I do kind of agree with you with the backcourt, the younger backcourt, and then Luther stepping in to be the head man for Kraft. The only thing is he was with Kraft though for the last 10 plus years as his right hand man, assistant coach. So you know me, I like to promote within, keep the continuity of the program. Interesting getting a couple guys back. We're kind of seeing that. Who was it? A couple other programs where they promoted within, and then they get a couple guys back. So maybe they were recruited by the assistant coach and they didn't see eye to eye with the head coach. But nevertheless, I think Gardner-Webb is kind of like Charleston Southern, around a 500 team in this league. That you're going to hear that a lot on this episode. To be honest, there's going to be a lot of 500 and a lot of parity in this league. But question marks in the backcourt, and then the front court is experience. Gardner-Webb 500, I think, in the Big South.
Yeah, I'll just be straight up. I got Gardner-Webb 6th in this league.
That sounds right.
So that's where I've got them. It's a small team, inexperienced in the backcourt for sure. And kind of inexperienced all over the place, as none of these guys started last season. But like you said, I would say the culture thing is, intact. But I wouldn't say it was one of the better ones over the last few years that would keep them in the top half of the conference standings, if you know what I mean. So that's why I've got them slightly in the bottom half.
But doesn't their resume a little bit resonate Wright State's a little bit in the horizon?
I still had Wright State like 5th.
Did you? Okay,
yeah.
I think I had Wright State 4th. So, but yeah, middle of the pack, 5th, 6th. I think you're right.
I'm looking. They had no more than 11 wins in all of these. Like Wright State was like winning either the tournament or the Horizon League every other year. I'm not sure Gardner-Webb has done that.
The last one that they went to, it was the Virginia year. They've always been like 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. They're just like right in the hunt, right outside looking in. You are right. They're not as good as Wright State, but I threw out Wright State just because they promote Nagy lefts, promote with Sargent, and that angle.
Next up for us in alphabetical order is the High Point Panthers.
This team sucks.
Mac, this team is winning the national championship, right?
Dude, let me tell you, first of all, beautiful campus. They've invested in their NIL, and you can tell they invested in their NIL with that they were able to keep this roster intact.
Yeah,
dude, this is like a sleeping giant at the mid-major level.
Yeah, I mean,
private school.
I said it at the top of the show. Like, I was super surprised at how good this team was last season.
Yeah.
And they retained everybody. Like, all 5 starters returned, and they added Bobby Pettiford from East Carolina, formerly of Kansas. He's a senior now, played 26.5 minutes in the AAC last season. He's going to compete for a starting job, but, I mean, when you return 5 starters, it's not going to be a given. Who knows what's going to happen here, because they've got 2 guys that I'm sure were probably front runners for Big South Player of the Year, and Keza Giffa and Kamani Hamilton. Giffa ended up being the preseason Player of the Year for the Big South, but Hamilton stuffs the stat sheet a little bit more. Averaged 15 points, 7 boards, 2.5 assists last season, 47% from the field in 31.5 minutes. And Keza Giffa, 30 minutes per game last season, 16 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 34% from the field, or from 3, sorry. They do also have Abdoulaye Thiam, who played 28 minutes last season, 12.5 points, 3.5 boards, 36% from 3. And returning 7-footer, he's now a sophomore, is Juslin Bodo, who played 24 minutes a season ago, 7 points, 9.5 rebounds, 67.5% from the field. And the other returner from last season that played a lot of minutes was Trey Benham, 27.5 minutes last season, 8 points per game, 4.5 boards, 37% from three. They also bring in a Texas Tech transfer in Demarion Williams, Florida Gulf Coast transfer, and Chase Johnston, who played 29 minutes for the Eagles last season, averaged 9.5 points. And from Lamar is Terry Anderson, played 28 minutes, 13 points per game, 6.5 boards, 2.5 assists. This roster is loaded. Like, there's a clear another level that this team's on, in my opinion, when it comes to the Big South this season. I've got this team winning the league by at least 2 games.
Yeah, what did they end up winning it by last year?
Just one.
Over
Asheville.
Asheville, yeah.
Which we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they lose Drew Pember, so.
Yeah, dude, this like you said, man, this is like fringe high major roster with some of these guys coming back. So I would argue their most valuable guy is Bodo, just with the way he's able to protect the rim. I mean, obviously Hamilton and Giff are great, and they're at the top of the preseason awards. I'm just looking. There's a reason why, and Alan Huss talked about it. They've had trouble scheduling some of these high majors because they don't want to play High Point because it's a losable bye game. They play some really good mid majors in the non-con, so they're going to be tested. UAB, Greensboro, North Texas, App State, so Southern Illinois. So they got some good road tests, and they got a couple of those at home. We both think American's going to be all right out of the Patriot as well, and Missouri State also on the schedule. They just don't have, like, I was just thinking, like, if they were so dominant, could they somehow put themselves in a contention for an at-large if they were like Indiana State undefeated? But they don't have them needle mover games like beating high majors. So, this roster is definitely the best one in this league. They're going to win. They're going to win the regular season, barring injuries. And Alan Huss, 27-9, 13-3 his first year. I think they're even better this year with all these guys coming back. Hopefully the NIL, sometimes at NIL, that little ego can creep in, but I think Huss is the right guy there to keep those egos in check and keep them on course.
Yeah. My next talking topic for this team, we have Vermont as a system play. Colgate used to be a system play. They're going to be removed from the system this season. And they were honestly playing themselves out of the system at the end of last year too. We're going to add Grand Canyon to the system this year. Is High Point good enough to be a system play this season, Mac?
At home, definitely, because we saw it at the end of last year when they hosted the conference tournament. I know they lost. They started showing up to those games, man. I really think this could be like the next Grand Canyon in terms of like how much money they're putting into this thing and having the right guy like Grand Canyon has with Drew. They're just like, they have the resources and money, and it's a private school. So yeah, love High Point this year.
Yeah. Rob says that High Point isn't a system play yet because they're too new to being this good. My only rebuttal to that would be, it's hard to really establish the mid-major powers now because coaches are jumping.
Yeah.
So
you don't see the retention on a roster like this.
Correct. When you have a roster like this, I think you just got to jump on and enjoy the ride. KenPom's got this team 6 points better than the 5 points better than the average college basketball team, 6 points better than the next best, the second place basketball team in the Big South. 6 points on a neutral floor. That's a large gap. So I'm probably going to ride this team in conference play. What else?
I'll take them every game except when they play at Radford. Radford's going to get them this year. Let's go.
All right. Yeah. We'll get to Radford and your alliance. What else I have alliance with? It's Underdog Fantasy because their pick 'em menu is one of the biggest and best. And you can, enjoy some NFL picks, college football, MLB, MMA, WNBA, NASCAR, NHL, and college basketball when the season rolls around. Boost-tober is upon us, which means that you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and much more on Underdog Fantasy right now. And with NBA tipping off, every NBA pick'em entry from October 19th to October 27th will be boost. So you can now use these specials and boosts on all flexed entries, which is amazing. And sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're back here on the college basketball experience, previewing the Big South Basketball Conference. Next up for us, alphabetically, is the Longwood Lancers. Mac, this is one of the teams that I would probably rank a little bit above Gardner-Webb when it comes to culture over the last few years. But this season, they're replacing 4 of their 5 starters from last year. I would say that they won the transfer portal, though. Let's roll through it because they lose Saman Sapala, who played 17 minutes for them last season. He was the big man. Davion Houston played 25 minutes. Jonathan Massey played 25 minutes. They all transfer out alongside Mateo Esmeraldo and Saxby Sunderland. Out of eligibility are Jasper Grunland and Waylon Napper. Grunland played 27 minutes, Napper 32.5, averaged 14.5 points, 4 boards, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. He's a huge hit. Coming in, like I said, I think they won the portal here. They bring in a guard from Drake, Colby Garland. He's a 6'1 sophomore, played 19.5 minutes for the Bulldogs last season. Averaged 5.7 points, just under 3 boards per game, 2.5 assists, shot at 49% from the field in only 19.5 minutes. You expand his role. I think he's going to be more of a scorer, playmaking point guard here for Longwood. They also bring in KJ McClurg from D2 Cal, which is a school in Pennsylvania, believe it or not. He played 37 minutes last season, 22.5 points, 5.5 boards, 2 assists, over a steal per game, shot at 42% from 3, 53.5% from the field. He's a bucket getter. DJ Jefferson comes in, a 6'5 redshirt sophomore from Tennessee, only played 3 minutes last season. He's looking to play some more this season and make a bigger impact. The 2 returners this season that are expected to start, Michael Christmas is the one returning starter from last season, 27.5 minutes. He's a 6'6 grad senior, 11.5 points, 6 boards, shot at 44% from the field, 39% from deep. And then Elijah Tucker, 6'8 redshirt junior, played 18 minutes last season. Longwood, I think, is going to stay afloat. I have them still in the top half of the league. Replacing 4 starters, to me, is just going to mean that they have a slow start to the season under Griff Aldrich. But, Mac, I still believe in Aldrich and the Lancers. How about you?
Yeah, he's proven that you give him the benefit of the doubt. 3 straight 20-win seasons, 2 out of 3 going to the dance. Last year was a little bit, honestly, of a down year until they caught fire. I mean, they were 6-10 in the regular season, but then we saw them. They were playing as good as anybody, beating High Point and beating the shit out of Asheville in the championship game on way to another Big South title. They're another one that's built a nice little home court arena there. I went to that arena, the nice little it was like the perfect size, a nice 3,000 seat arena that just perfect for that university.
Yeah, it was brand new last year, right?
It was brand new, dude. It was nice, right in the middle of Farmville, Virginia. I got to get back to a game this year. But yeah, I definitely like Longwood as a top 4, top 3 team again this year. A little bit worried about all the new faces, but I'm with you. I think they struggle in the non-con, kind of like they did. I think it was last year, and then they catch their identity, and that was on the defensive end last year, buying in with all those athletes and toughness. So, yeah, I like Longwood again this year.
Forgot. There you go. I forgot to mention, too, that another reason why I like just having some blind faith in Aldrich is he's had a top 4 Big South defense in 4 of the last 6 seasons.
They guard.
So they are they have a good, solid defensive foundation there. We're going to move on to the Presbyterian Blue Hose. This is where I get some questions when we're talking about believing in some programs. The Blue Hose under Quentin Farrell, where do I have it? They have never finished above 500 in his 5 years in his tenure. And they also lose 3 starters from last season. All 4 players that they lose from last year are actually all contributed. So even though they don't lose as many as other rosters, they're solid hits to any momentum in a program. Marquise Barnett, 14.5 points per game, 4.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 2 steals per game last season. He's gone after playing 30.5 minutes. Trevin Reddish-Roan played 28 minutes last season, 7.5 points, 4 boards, 2 assists. He's out of eligibility alongside Crosby James, who played 15 minutes. And then Samaj Teal, he transfers out after playing 28 minutes, 13.5 points, 2.5 boards, 2.5 assists, shot at 41.5% from 3. They don't return a double-digit score from a season ago, but almost everybody is scrappy on the glass. That's the one positive that I can take away from this Presbyterian roster. Mac, what are your thoughts about the Blue Hose going into this upcoming season?
What was the term I used last night? Boomerang? Like kind of they finish in middle of the pack, then they're in the basement, then they're back to middle of the pack, then back to the basement. Then last year was his best year, 14-19, 6-10, but they lost all that production with those seniors. So I don't know, man. Definitely a bottom tier team in this league. Just a lot of question marks on this roster. Big year for Farrell. He did play at Presbyterian, so and dude, nobody wins at Presbyterian. So like, I don't think his seat's hot or anything. It's a hard job in the state of South Carolina in the middle of nowhere. So I think he did a good job last year. He's got his work cut out for him this year. So we'll see if he can get Presbyterian to stay in the middle of the pack. Because I really think that's kind of their ceiling in this league. They don't have the resources these other teams have in this Big South.
Yeah, Presbyterian, they are a young roster, but they are expected to start 4 seniors this season. 3 of them played over 20 minutes last season. That's Jamari Harvey, a 6'4" guard who played 23 minutes. Kobe Stewart, a 6'6" fifth-year senior, played 27 minutes, averaged 8 and 4.5 with 1.5 assists over a steal per game. And then Caleb Scott, a 6'7" forward. He's a senior, 21 minutes a season ago, averaged 7 and 5. Mac, before we get to the next team here in the Big South Conference preview, SGPN's partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm will give you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. They've been around for more than 30 years, and you can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning-fast payouts when you're looking to cash out. U.S. players are always welcome wherever you are, and sign up today and deposit at least $100, and you have a chance to win a 1960 Ford Mustang. Use our link to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Yes, you heard that correctly, a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. It's an amazing promo. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. And we're home free here today on the College Basketball Experience, talking about the Big South, previewing every team in alphabetical order here in the conference. Next up for Mac and I is his Radford Highlanders. Mac, you like you said at the top of the show, you were graced by Darius Nichols and his presence to begin your summer school coaches tour this season. I'm going to let you begin, but first, they return the least amount of minutes from last season, but they used the transfer portal to gain a lot of experience. They have the least amount of minutes returning, but the most amount of experience, according to Torvik, entering the year in the Big South. What's your take on that? What did Nichols tell you about some of these transfer portal additions? How high is he on the roster? Because I know a lot of coaches like to say that they are, but what did he give you? What kind of insights did he have?
Well, I can tell you, if you don't like your roster this time of year, you're probably going to have a bad year because you haven't lost a game yet. But yeah, I like what they brought in. They wanted to put an emphasis more on being more athletic, being tougher, because they weren't good enough defensively to win the hard games. They could beat up on some of the teams that were 6-10 with them last year. But I mean, you look at what Darius headed into year number 4. 2 years ago, I thought they were pretty good defensively. That was the year they finished 12-6 in league play. Last year, they were really good in the non-con. They got banged up at the beginning, and then just the wheels fell off down the stretch. So big year for Darius, obviously, at Radford. He's been around 500, 24-26 in 3 years. In Big South play, 48-50 overall. I'm bullish, shockingly, on the Highlanders this year. I like the experience, and I don't think it was a bad thing to lose all those guys from last year's team. So, yeah, I think they're more athletic and tougher this year.
Yeah, so I think the big get here was from Tennessee Tech. David Early played 32 and a half minutes. He's a 6'4" senior guard, 14 and a half points per game, 2.5 boards, over assist per game, over steal per game, 45% from the field, 37% from deep. You also have the point guard Truth Harris returns from last season, a 6'2" redshirt senior, played 17 minutes last season, shot at 35.5% from 3, 48% from the field. You're looking for more of a distributor to fill this roster out, in my opinion. Maybe it's Truth Harris, maybe it's somebody else from this transfer portal. But, I think outside of like a true point guard, Radford's going to be pretty competitive this season. Maybe that's Tony Felder, who had 2.8 assists last season at Stonehill. I believe that Stonehill to Radford's a little bit of a step up in competition, though. They do bring in Isaiah Gaines, who's looking for more playing time after playing in Dusty May's FAU program the last couple of years. So I think you're a little bit higher on the Radford squad than I am. I'm going to have them more in the middle of the pack this season, but excited for Darius Nichols and pulling for him because I know you are. So,
no doubt. Yeah, it's and by the way, they're live opening night at Pittsburgh. So circle that one, everybody. But I'm just looking at it.
I'm sure that coach Darius Nichols, he's got that one circled as well.
He played at West Virginia, baby. You know he's got that Pitt game circled, baby. Eat shit, Pitt. Let's go, Radford. But the schedule does break nice too in the non-con. Getting ODU to come back to them. They lost a heartbreaker there last year. Getting Bucknell, who we were pretty high on in the Patriot League. They get them to come to Radford as well. So getting a couple quality opportunities at home before you start league play. But the main thing, my biggest worry is their ability to make perimeter jump shots. But when you can guard and rebound, you can win a lot of ball games. So I'll take, me, man, culture, defense, rebounding over making some pretty jump shots. So Radford top 4. Let's go.
All righty. Next up for us is UNC Asheville. And I mean, the elephant in the room. What'd you say?
Interesting team here.
Yeah, it is. Elephant in the room. We'll say it. We'll get it out of the way. Drew Pember's gone. 20.5 points, 8 boards, 3.5 assists. The offense ran through him. He's out of eligibility. Not returning to Asheville and the Bulldogs this season. That's a big loss. They are expected to start 4th and 5th year players, though. So lack of a star or losing a star, but gaining experience, I would say, because all these guys played around Pember. They also lose Caleb Burgess last season after playing 27 minutes, averaging 5 assists per game. But outside of that, I don't think they lose too much. Trent Stephanie played 17 minutes. Jamon Battle played 16. Nick McMullen averaged 10 points per game, 6 boards in 22 minutes. He's a little bit of a hit. Evan Johnson played 10 minutes. Davion Cunningham played 11 minutes, and Dean Gebrlich played 7. Incoming from the transfer portal is Justin Wright. Played 26.5 minutes last season for Loyola Marymount. Averaged 11.5 points, 11 points, 3.5 boards, 2 assists, 49% shooter from the field. He's expected to take over the point guard role for this team. This is another team that I have my questions about a true point guard here, but Wright is the expected starter at the 1 this season. Aiden Rubio transfers in from Central Michigan after playing 25 minutes for the Chips last season. Shot at 40% from 3 and 25 minutes per game. Jordan Marsh comes in from App State after only playing 11.5 minutes last season. Scored 6 points per game when he did get the shot. So give him a little bit of a bigger role. Maybe that translates into the Big South. Connor Dubsky comes in from Rhode Island after only playing 7 minutes for the Rams last season. Jamal Davis also transfers in from Central Michigan. Played 15 minutes last season for the Chips. And Sage Tolentino transfers in from Cincinnati. Mac, your thoughts on USC Asheville? You said this is a pretty interesting team. Let us hear it.
Well, just because they lost Pember. I still I trust Mike Morrell. I think he's a pretty good coach. I think he's from the Shaka Smart coaching tree. I just think also sometimes he I don't know if I would say he was the most overrated, but I didn't feel like Pember was as good last year as he was 2 years ago. I didn't see the drive, and I didn't think he was as hungry. Maybe statistically he was as good, but I didn't feel like he was as efficient, and maybe that was just being on the top of the scouting report. So they do bring back a little bit just from last year. Maybe they do it more by committee this year. I still got Asheville in my top 4. I trust Morrell. He's been in the top 4 the last 5 years. So give me I think obviously they're going to take a little bit of step back losing a guy like Pember. They're not going to compete with High Point, but I still like this roster and the upside, and I think they'll get better and better under Morrell.
Yeah, and I
think they'll play faster.
Yeah.
I think he wants to play faster.
I'm just saying, the step back is tough to gauge because they finished last season 2nd in the Big South, 12-4. The 4th place finisher was 8-8. So I'm not going to be too drastic on how much of a step they take back here, just because of one player. Because I do believe in Morrell, and I believe that a lot of these guys probably got better playing around Pember. I would like to believe that. Personally, I disagree with overrated mid-major basketball player. You're pretty good if you're putting up 20 points per game and not as much volume as a guard. He was a forward, almost averaging a double-double per game. And he did it for 2 straight seasons. So I would like to rebuttal on that. But I like the experience on this roster. I think it's still a top half team in the Big South. Next up is USC Upstate.
Oof.
Look, they've got a new head coach this season in Marty Richter. I don't know too much about him. Maybe you know a little bit more because he comes in from Drake, an assistant coach under Darian DeVries last season, or a couple of seasons, I would say. But yeah, the entire roster turns over. Do you know much about Richter here?
Yeah, our schedules didn't work out. He'll be on in the future. So Richter obviously worked for DeVries. It'll probably take a year here. He's a good coach, obviously coming from Drake. He was at Florida Southwestern State as well, and he's got a JUCO background. So automatically I'm going to be high on him as a coach. So maybe a team that overachieves late in the year. But like you said, you look at what they brought back, 0.1% of returning production. So literally a new team. Maybe this could be a mystery team that sneaks up into the middle of the pack. You never know.
They're also the youngest team, according to Torvik, here in the preseason in the Big South. It's they're at the bottom of 2 lists that you don't really want to be at the bottom at. And Rob in the chat says that he doesn't know much about this team. It's tough. It really is, because they're expected to start a freshman who was previously a West Virginia commit. Mac, do you know anything about Carmelo Adkins?
Well, he made a mistake leaving the Mountaineers. No, I don't know much about Carmelo. I think he's good for that. I think he's really good for that level. So But I mean,
Right.
I didn't get to really dive into his film as much as if he was still committed to West Virginia.
Darian said, "Hey, I'm not going to take you, but I know a guy who will."
Yeah, yeah. It's
uh,
you know what this team is going to be? They're going to get absolutely killed in November and December. They'll struggle in January, and then February, as a dog, they're going to come through a bunch of times. That's what always happens with these super young teams. Last year, Notre Dame at the ACC level, they just got better and better and better, and they were pain in everybody's ass, especially when you think you're getting a good coach. And I think Richter's a good coach.
yeah, they bring in the 82nd ranked recruit from JUCOrecruiting.com. 13 points per game from Braylon Garcia at Daytona State last season. He also put up 6.5 rebounds per game. NAIA transfer from Our Lady of the Lake, Daniel Helterhoff, 24 minutes a game, 10 points, 6 boards a season ago. Chico Johnson didn't play last season at Drake. He's a sophomore now, 6'3", guard there. Coming in from Buffalo is Kanye Jones, played 17 minutes for the Bulls last season, 8 points, 3 boards per game. From D2 Grand Valley State, that's my neck of the woods. Britt Harris, 6'4" junior, played 26.5 minutes, 12 points per game, 4 boards, 2 assists, 45% from the field, 32.5% from 3. He's a 6'4" guard. He's a junior. From Florida Southwest State, Carmani Gregory, 9.5 points per game in the JUCO level last season. And from Mount San Jacinto, junior college, 18.5 points from Isaiah Skinner comes in. He also put up 6 rebounds, 2 assists per game. Big question mark all over the place for this roster and team for me. This is a team that I say it a lot. November, December is going to show me something, and I'll gauge my my analysis on the team come November, December after I see them play a couple of times. So for me, though, it's going to be hard to keep them out of the basement just because I do believe that some of the other programs at least give me something to be positive about. And
you just don't know. You don't
yeah.
know what they have. Like they're super young. They don't have a lot of transfers that we've seen play at the Division I level. And Richter's a relatively new head coach. I know he was a head coach at the junior college level, but still, I mean, it's a lot of moving pieces. I have them 9th, but like I said, I think they're playing good ball coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree with you.
First year head coaches, man. We got to circle all those that we think are going to get better and better. Those young first year head coaches that they're going to throw their kids into the fire, and then come February they'll become sophomores and be feisty coming down the stretch.
Possibly. Another one of those that have kind of grown up within the program is Winthrop. A lot of these guys return from last season. Winthrop returns 4 starters, 60% of their minutes from last season. But the thing that I've circled that's a little bit alarming is that, under Prosser, the results have steadily declined since Pat Kelsey departed from this program. So if you look at it, Mac, Prosser's first year after Kelsey left, 14-2, they were 23-9 overall. Second year, they were 10-8, 15-17 overall. Third year, 8-8 in conference, 17-15 overall. Do you think I'm on the right track at all? Just with that, observation.
I mean, it's definitely worth noting, but at least the trend has been to the staying in the top 4. It would be really alarming if he was like 7th or 8th in this league from where he got it when Pat Kelsey was there. Obviously, Coach Prosser's the son of Skip Prosser, who was at Xavier and Wake for all those years. So it is interesting. They do they have a lot coming back. So this is a really telling year for us in terms of Winthrop if Prosser can get this program back to where it was under Pat Kelsey.
Yeah, the one starter that they lose from last season's Michael Anumba, played 27.5 minutes for them last season, averaged 9 points per game, 3.5 boards. Chase Claxton is out of eligibility after playing 22 minutes last season. Alex Timmerman in the same boat, out of eligibility. 3 transfers out, but none of them really played too much of an impact last season. Sincere McMahon played 19.5 minutes per game, 8 points per game. Xavier McKelvey only played 10.5 minutes last season per game, and Michael Moore 7 minutes per game last season. They transfer out. Transferring in, the one expected starter is from the front court of Xavier. He missed last season due to injury, played at Indiana in his sophomore season. He's a 6'10 senior, Logan Duncombe. Played 5.5 minutes for the Hoosiers, 3 points per game, 75% from the field in the limited minutes he had for the Hoosiers in 2022-23. But like we said, they returned 4 starters, maybe none bigger than Kelton Talford, who put up 14 points per game, 5.5 boards in 27 minutes. They do return point guard Kason Harrison, who put up 4 assists per game, 11.5 points in 31.5 minutes. Nick Johnson played 28 minutes last season. He's a 6'4 graduate senior, 10.5 points, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists. KJ Doucette, 6'7 junior forward, who played 24 minutes a game, 12.5 points, 4.5 boards, 1.5 assists. 35% 3-point shooter. Winthrop, they get the benefit of the doubt for me. Just as a program, they're going to finish in the top half, but I have some questions, not as many as others in this conference, but I'm not too high on Prosser's tenure so far. Mac, what are your thoughts on this year's team and overall, maybe compared to the rest of the league?
I think that they're definitely in the top 4. I mean, you mentioned all that returning production. They finished 4th last year. They finished 4th the last 2 years. So bringing all that experience back, what does Torvik have him in terms of experience? He's got him right behind Radford and High Point. So and combine that with the returning production. I mean, they're top 3 in returning production as well. I think they're top 4, top 3 team in the league this year. I think they're going to take a step forward after taking a step back the last couple of years.
All right, let's get into it. Our preseason rankings in the Big South. We do have a media poll that we can dive into afterwards, but let's not use that media poll to decipher our rankings. Mac, 9th, it's got to be USC Upstate, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right. You can have the lead. Number 8 for you.
Number 8 for me is going to be the Blue Hose of Presbyterian.
I agree with you. I got Presbyterian 8th as well.
And number 7, I think it's going to be Gardner-Webb.
Yeah, I lied. I said I had Gardner-Webb 6th. I made a last-minute decision. I switched them with Radford. So I've got Gardner-Webb 7th, Radford 6th.
I have Charleston Southern 6th.
Okay. Who do you have 5th?
Back and forth on this one. I have Longwood at 5.
Wow.
That's where they finished last year. I mean, that's where they finished last year in the regular season, and they lost everybody.
Yeah. I think they won the transfer portal, though. And they've had a really good program lately. So I'm a little bit higher on Longwood. I have Charleston Southern 5th.
Okay. I have UNC Asheville at 4. So I said, yeah, top 4. They stay there.
This is tough because these next 3 teams are so damn tight. I'm going to go with Winthrop 4th.
Okay. And number 3, I got my boys, Radford, the Highlanders. Jump up to 3, back to back in the top half of the league. Year 4, Darius Nichols.
I got Longwood 3rd.
Okay. And then the number 2 hole, I had the guys from Winthrop with all that experience back. So I'm and I think everybody knows who I got at 1 in you.
Yeah, I'm with Mike Morrell and UNC Asheville. I just believe in that program. I think they Pember left them in better hands than he found them, basically, and I'm gonna hope that the supporting cast around him last season, as they do have 4 4th and 5th year guys, that are expected to start here. I think that Morrell and Asheville have something good going in Asheville. I'm going to predict them to be second, but I don't think too many games separate second, third, and fourth in this league. And then, we both have the Panthers of High Point winning this league in the regular season. Do you have them winning the conference tournament?
So the conference tournament, I believe, is in Johnson City this year. Random. There's no school in the state of Tennessee in this league.
Interesting. I think the baseball tournament was in Johnson City last year.
This shit should be like in Charlotte or even like Richmond or something.
Richmond's too north.
Oh, come on. It would be right here for me. Virginia Beach wouldn't be too. I mean, I guess Radford, though, and Longwood are kind of western. It should be in North Carolina.
It should be in the Carolinas.
It should be in Charlotte.
Stop trying to get this thing in your backyard.
Heartbreak City again. High Point loses in the championship this year to the Radford Highlanders. Let's go. The Highlanders are going back dancing.
I should have known you were going there. I don't know why I was surprised.
This isn't a chalk league. Last year, High Point, they're going to put a strong emphasis on that semifinal game. Then they're going to get to the final with all the pressure. Hopefully, they're undefeated at that point so they can get in that large bid.
I say this whenever I can. I root for the best teams to play in March. So the best teams need to win their conference tournaments for us to get the best possible NCAA tournament. That's what I'm rooting for. So give me High Point to win this conference tournament, please. I'm crossing my fingers. I want to see it. I want to see it happen. Mac, the preseason media poll that was just released yesterday, Tuesday, October 15th, they had High Point winning it, 17 first-place votes out of the 18 possible. Winthrop received the other first-place vote, and they were actually second here. So Winthrop second. You had them second. I don't know why I said actually second. It's not really too surprising. Third, Longwood. Fourth, Asheville. Fifth, Charleston Southern. So they went with us there. Sixth, Gardner-Webb. 7, Radford. 8, Presbyterian. 9, USC Upstate. Looking at this now, we went pretty chalky.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my one outlier, but like we talked about it, like you go on KenPom right now, just from a non-biased analytical standpoint, the difference between second place and sixth place is 3 games. If you even narrow it more down, third to seventh is 2 games.
But that doesn't support that. Like, we didn't vary too much from the media poll.
Well,
and it's supposed to be some.
My point is, there's, I think, 2 clear bottom teams, and there's a clear top team, and then you take your pick 2 through 7 on what you think is going to happen with Winthrop, Radford, Asheville, Longwood, Gardner-Webb, and Charleston Southern. Is what the analytics say, and basically what we said and the poll says.
Yep. So I'm 2 spots higher on Radford than the media poll, but I believe you're higher than me on Radford. So Radford can't be my sleeper, so I'm going to go with Asheville. Asheville was 4th in the media poll. I have them 2nd. Where did you have Radford? Because they've got to be your sleeper, right?
3. Oh, and they're winning it, baby. Listen, I love Alan Huss. He came on the show. I love what he's doing there, but Radford's going to get him my Radford Highlanders are going to get him in the finals this year. No, if High Point does get to the tournament, I'll be rooting for High Point. I like.
Yeah, I can see it now in mid-March. You're like, Team TCE guy right there, Alan Huss. Let's go High Point. They're going to the Elite 8.
You never know. It could be the last year of Alan Huss and High Point. So you High Point fans better appreciate Coach Huss.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
He's building something, and he's going to be a Power 5 coach, high major coach here within the next couple of years, if not next year.
Bust. I mean, it doesn't really fulfill the term bust, but I've got Winthrop. I basically flipped them with Asheville. The media poll had Winthrop 2nd. I picked them to finish 4th. That's my biggest fall. Mac, who are you relatively low on compared to some other prognosticators?
Man, I'm the one that's kind of chalk outside of Radford. I basically just threw Radford from 7 to 3, then slid everybody 1 spot down. I guess Charleston Southern. Gardner-Webb. I had Gardner-Webb 6 or 7. They're 6. I had Charleston Southern at 6. They're 5. Longwood was at 5. They're 3. So I guess Longwood outside the top 4, maybe.
Sure, I'll give it to you because
I don't have
they were
the
picked. Longwood was picked 3rd. You have them 5th. It's the same thing that I'm doing. I counted Winthrop as I have them 2 spots lower. That's going to wrap up today's episode of the Big South, our conference preview. We've got 11 more of these to go. The season begins November 4th. November 3rd, the night of, around midnight Eastern time, we'll be doing a live show picking every single game for opening night Monday. And
That's
there's going to be every night. We do it every night of the regular season, even during Thanksgiving and Christmas. We don't take a day off here at the College Basketball Experience. It's same 3 guys, no rotating cast. Colby, myself, Mac. And we have all of these conference previews in a playlist, so you can binge them whenever you want. And Mac, we also have your coaching interviews in a playlist. We also have the college football experience, college basketball experience, college football experience, college baseball experience, FCS college football experience, the Big 12 college experience, or there's plenty of other shows from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network that are linked through our YouTube channel, the College Experience -SGPN, and wherever you're listening to this on podcast platforms. Check us out on Twitter at TC on SGPN, or Mac can be found on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. Myself at Noah B77_. This has been the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.